This is Genevieve LaCaze. I'm a 3000m steeplechaser, 2-time Olympian. You're listening to the Physical Performance Show here with Brad and I.
Oh, and guys, owe you an apology. Episode 30 was going to be Dr. Peter Malliaris, physiotherapist, researcher, clinician out of Melbourne, who for the better part of 2 decades has spent his life looking at lower limb tendon problems. So that was going to be the first of a specialist intermittent appearance on the show where we bring in a medical specialist to talk about sort of current topics that are of interest to the wider audience relating to sports medicine. Peter was all ready to go, and I'm in Queensland, Peter's in Victoria, and my calculation of daylight savings is wrong, so apologies to Peter, and we will be connecting with Peter, planning before the year's out. Peter was just about to jet out to the UK to present some tendon workshops. So guys, Peter Malliaris will feature, but that'll be coming up. But today we're in for a treat. Let's kick into Genevieve LaCaze.
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go.
Listeners, welcome to another episode of the Physical Performance Show. I trust you enjoyed last week's episode 29, featuring Geordie Mercer, current Nutrigrain Series champion, who heads into this summer as the firm favourite to defend her title. Some great stories there, and great to see a few people having a go at Jordan's physical challenge, which she laid down to put the runners on and go for a run. So thanks for everyone that sent through their completed challenge. We're very impressed with that effort. This week, you're in for a real treat. Just by serendipity, we happened to catch this great athlete for the Physical Performance Show as she jetted into town here on the Gold Coast, swung past a POGO Physio, and shared some key insights into what's becoming a remarkable athletic career. This young runner this year featured in 2 finals in the Rio Olympic Games, in the 3000m steeplechase and the 5000m respectively, running. And she has achieved some remarkable things, and I think we're just starting to see the best from this young Aussie athlete. She goes by the name of Genevieve, and it's Genevieve LaCaze. As she says on social media, she's a Mauritian Aussie, and Jen shares some fascinating insights into how she got started, her career, the disappointments, the highs, the lows, the challenges, and the victories, and what she does to keep herself performing at a physical best. Also, a really great little continuity here is when Jen was in town, we also managed to catch up with Jen's boyfriend, Ryan Gregson, a fellow track Australian Olympian who also finaled in the 1500 metres on the track in Rio. And you're going to really enjoy a little bit of continuity, if you like, in the Physical Performance Show, as episode 31 is going to feature Ryan. So you'll have fun listening to how they met and hearing their respective stories. This is a great session. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Before we jump in, just wanted to thank everyone that's leaving reviews on iTunes for the Physical Performance Show. This one came through from Lynette Marie. Lynette says, actually feels like you're in the room chatting with these athletes. They offer an honest insight into the ups and downs, successes and failures. I really enjoyed Anderson. Such an incredible life journey. That's referring to episode 3 with Anderson McQueen. Great stories so far. Looking forward to the next one, and so cool listening to them in the car. Thanks so much, Lynette, for leaving that review. And also, guys, if you're enjoying it, the show that is, please jump over to iTunes and leave a review. If you love it, 5 stars. If you hate it, 1 star. Hopefully there's not too many ones coming through. All right, guys, let's jump straight in. Here's Genevieve LaCaze. So, Jen, Tell us something about the one thing that scares you the most.
I'd have to say, gosh, the thing that scares me the most in my sport, I'd say injury, because that's the only thing I know that can prevent me from reaching any goals that I have in mind. I don't try focus on it too much, and I learned that from Eloise Welling. She said if you forever sit there and think, I don't want to get injured, do everything to stay healthy, just becomes more of a state of mind that you're in, and you run scared and you train scared, and it definitely has a negative effect on your training because you're probably really tense and uptight about what you're doing. But definitely because I've seen what I've been able to do staying injury free, and I know that I haven't reached even, got close to my potential yet. I know I have so much to offer in this sport, but what has caused me to not get there already is injuries in the past. And it all started from having one major injury where I broke my ankle, and your body kind of I get weak after a while of being in a boot and having time off, and it kind of just started a vicious cycle of getting injured every few months, and that was why I would get decent at running and then I'd break down again, and that just happened for a few years. But I've managed to stay healthy for quite some time now, and 2016 proved that the consistent training can really get me to another level. So that really is something that scares me a lot. If I can stay healthy, I know I'll forever improve, but little niggles that pop up here and there really throw me off mentally, and I just try to get them fixed before they manage to prevent me from training for more than a week.
And Jen, you mentioned, in 2016 it's been an incredible year for you. 2 Olympic finals, a run of, it might have been in the end more than 7 successive PBs. I think. What did that get out to? Where's that at the moment? Your PB?
Yeah, I don't know how many I got in a row. I know that at one point it was every time I stepped on the track I would PB, which was pretty cool. But it was more over the span of, January till September. I just kept exceeding all expectations with times that I wanted. At the end of the season I did a post because I had set goals at the start of the year of times that I wanted to reach for pretty much all the events: 800, 1500, 3K steeple, 3K flat, 5K. And I got all of them except for the 1500. I just didn't run enough of them. And that was just amazing to see, because I'd even set goals of times that I ended up smashing. And that's really cool to look back at the end of the year and think, wow, at the start of the year you thought you were capable of this, and this is what you ended up doing. So my coach said I didn't set the bar high enough for myself, because I ended up smashing them. So this year I'm going to sit down and reevaluate what I want next year. But it also isn't all time based. It's now that I've made a final on the world stage, I'll forever expect myself to make a final. So when I go to World Champs next year in London, it's not going and going, oh, I hope I make a final. It's going and saying, all right, I want to be top 5 in this final. Medals are what I got to start looking at, and stop kind of just hoping to be in the top bunch. I want to be one of the best.
And do you think though that that mindset shift of is almost being born out of the fact that we learn through experience and then evaluating experience, and in this case you said you're coaching yourself, thought, right, well, let's set the bar higher. Do you think your results could have been different if you had have set the bar higher? Or do you...
Yeah, maybe, but again, it's about baby steps. You got to set goals that don't seem impossible. If I had have come into this year after not a great 2015 and said, all right, I want to be top 10 in the world this year, it at the time is a bit overwhelming, and you probably struggle to see that clear kind of in front of you. So I did have to set the baby steps. I did have to say, okay, let's just focus on PBing, whether it's half a second or 10 seconds. And I reevaluated my goals every few months because I was progressing so well. But again, it's a mindset, and if you focus on just getting better and not trying to put a limit on it, that's when I think you start noticing the results. And this year, yes, I exceeded all expectations, so maybe I did set the bar a little low, but at the same time, I managed to, every time I managed to reach a goal, it was sit down, okay, how do I want to be better again? How are we going to, and I don't believe I've hit the ceiling yet, so there's still a lot of goals to be readjusted.
The best running's ahead, right?
Exactly.
And so, Jen, I asked a previous podcast guest, Craig Mottram, back a couple of episodes ago about what was going through Craig's head when he'd take to an Olympic final. What was going through your head this year in Rio for your first final, which was a 3000m steeplechase? Can you remember as you lined up there? The announcer announces your name in the stadium. What was going through your head?
Yeah, it's I think for the public, it probably sounds like it's such a scary moment, but the scary part is the heats. The scary part is standing on that line knowing that there's actually a job you have to do before you get to where you want to be. So lining up for the heats is the scariest moment for me, because if you put 1 foot wrong, you won't be progressing. You won't be running the final, which is what you came here to do. So I was actually much more nervous for my heat because I knew that I was capable of making the final. I just couldn't screw it up. When I crossed that line, it was so much stress and relief off my shoulders. I felt like a different person when I walked out for the final, because I knew that I'd done what I was expected to do, and now anything from here was a bonus. So I ran the final really brave, I think, because I felt confident that anything I did was going to be great. And Ryan and I laugh about it. We bluff ourselves the whole way. As I'm walking out onto the track, I'm not thinking, okay, this is the Olympic final. There's millions of people watching it live right now. Be careful what you do. But I don't. I would say, okay, you're just walking out, you're getting ready for a track session, your coach is there, you know what your reps are, you know what your recovery is, you completely trick yourself, because if you really stop and think about what you're doing, you also get overwhelmed and get nervous and anxious. So it's really strange. And for the 5,000 metres, I have to do that. It's a long, uncomfortable event for me. So when I stand on that line, I just say to myself, look, you got Eloise here. It's just a training session. You're going out for a threshold. You got your heart rate monitor on. And I bluff myself for as many laps as possible until it really starts to hurt. And then you're like, all right, I'm in the Olympic final and I got to get to the end.
And do you find an extra gear? I mean, it's an occasion that every athlete, dreams of, but only very few ever experience. Do you find it just pulls a depth out of your performance that you otherwise wouldn't have had?
Yeah, 100%. The things I did, I had to race 4 times in the span of 6 or 7 days. You pull things out of your body that you didn't think you had. Like, you go beyond your potential. In my heat for the 5K, it was 22 hours after my last race. It was very close to my steeple final, and when I woke up that morning, I was a bit sore from the track. I kind of was a bit tired from the past 2 races, but I was so lucky I got put in a heat with Eloise, who's someone I've trained with so much this year. And I still remember I had a K to go in the heat, and they only take top 5, and then the rest is based on time, so you just got to hope that you get in on time. And there was a bunch of about 10 girls, and I kind of in my head was thinking, wow, it's going to take a lot for me to make this. I don't know how I'm going to get through this last K. I was absolutely dead. I was so tired, and Eloise was just in front of me, and I just keep following her. But anyway, I came up beside her, and we had probably 900 metres to go, and she just turned to me, and when she realised it was me, she also felt relieved, because she's like, oh, thank goodness it's Jen. We can work together to get to the end here. And she just said to me, Jenny, we got to clear out now. And just purely because she said that, I was like, you're right. We need to break up this group of 10 because only 5 are going. And that's when I surged to the front, and she followed me, and we completely broke up the field, got rid of some stragglers, and ended up making the finals together. And that was a really special moment for me, because in my head I thought, it's okay, you've had a great championship already. This 5K was a bonus you threw in at the last minute. There's no expectations. You don't have to make the final. But as soon as Eloise turned to me and asked something of me that probably I didn't think was in my body at the time, I would manage to find a little bit of energy somewhere and get us to the end to both go to the final. If she wasn't in that heat, I believe I probably wouldn't have made it. Wow. So it is special what you can make yourself do if the situation calls for it.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And I think, that's an Olympic final, for anyone that's out there trying to seek their best performance. I think there's always more, isn't there? And sometimes
there is
that accountability, someone pulling that out, calling that out for you. I mean, we can always see more for others than we can see for ourselves. What a beautiful example.
Yeah.
I was really it was just great to see from the lounge chair the the companionship between yourself and Eloise and the team. I think this year the athletics commentators really got in there and really showed some of the personality. I mean, that was just raw and real, wasn't it? That's just the moment.
Well, it even could just, people might think, it's TV, making it look great. But the thing is, with Eloise and I, she is someone I've followed since I remember beginning running. She used to do fun runs all the time because she was so good from a young age. I would watch her every race. I used to go to the Noosa Bolt and watch her and be like, there's Eloise, I'm going to make sure I find her after and get a photo with her. Like, she was my role model. Right. And it wasn't until London 2012 Melbourne Track Club asked if I wanted to kind of hop in for a few sessions before we headed into the village. And I remember my first run where Eloise was running with me, and I was so nervous. I don't think I said a word, and I hung back like a few metres, and she's like, come on. And I was just like running behind her awkwardly because I was in awe of her. I thought she was as good as they come. And now, 4 years down the track, I'm running alongside her in a heat and a final, and in a lot of other races throughout the year, and training with her at altitude. You could have never told me that 4 years ago, and it's really, really special because, like I said, when we cross that line and from the heat, knowing we'll both go into the final, you can see it in my face. I'm just like lost for words that with Eloise, this special athlete to me, we're going to the finals, and we roomed together in the village. It was a little fairy tale for me, and she's had a huge influence on my running. And my coach even says that Eloise really helped me progress as an athlete because she set a standard, and because I looked up to her so much, I knew that I wanted to be like her. I wanted to have her work ethic. I wanted to be as good as, she was. And it just made me into a better athlete. And that's something we're trying to do with the rest of the group now. We've got a lot of young ones coming in, a lot of new athletes joining our group this year. And our coach wants to kind of get us all together because you're better as a team and it rubs off on each other, and you all just kind of get this really good work ethic, and you improve out of sight. And this is Melbourne Track Club? Yep. And Coach Nick Bedeau? Yes. Yep. And so do you think then is it a fair assumption, Jen, would have said Eloise, to say that you cannot succeed in isolation to your physical best? Yeah, not at all. I'm a firm believer in you're stronger as a group, and I've done a lot of training on my own in the past, but the benefit of having a really strong group around you, it definitely is just crazy that the benefit you get out of that. Even if it's something as simple as just having someone to talk to about what you're doing. It might even just be a casual run. I went for a run with Ryan this morning, and I noticed I've done a few runs over the past week alone on the Gold Coast, but having just someone there next to you, you try harder without realising. It's completely different. And to have Melbourne Track Club all year round, we go to altitude together, we live together in Melbourne, we live together in London, we're in America at altitude together. It is like a little family we have where the work ethic is so strong, and Nick doesn't have to be there for probably 70% of the time, but the job is still getting done. Most of it's done through correspondence over email, and Nick kind of says, all right, this is what everyone's doing for the next 10 days, report back to me after every session. And we do that all over the world without him being there, and we're still all achieving our goals and getting better as a group. So it just proves that if you're in the right kind of surrounding, it's amazing what you can do. Yeah, wow. And so, Jen, to give listeners a bit of context to your year, what does it sort of look like? What will this 12 months ahead of you look like now? You've come off Rio, some incredible form. Yep. So our year actually follows the exact same schedule. It doesn't change, and Ryan's been in the group for 7 or 8 years, and it's been the same for him. From all of January, we're in Falls Creek at altitude in Victoria. We come down from altitude literally the end of the month, and all of February and March we all train in Melbourne and kind of compete in the Australian domestic season, do races here and there. And then pretty much as soon as the trials or nationals are over, depends what's going on that year, we fly straight overseas. Like the next day we'll fly straight to America and go hour inland from San Diego, where we do another altitude camp, and we usually can stay up to there for about 2 months. And it's a little bit higher than Falls Creek. I think it might be 1,800 meters, and it's just real tough vertical climbing pretty much. It's not a plateaued mountain. We're literally on top of a peak, and we live in cabins and train really hard for 2 months, and you don't have to run very fast up there because it's just real tough terrain. So come June, we're ready to head to London and start our European season, which is our main season, and we kind of do all the diamond leagues and competitions. Nick puts us in pretty much all the way up to the major competition of the year, which is Olympics, Commonwealth Games or World Champs. Next year will be World Champs in London, which is almost like a home World Champs for us because we spend so much time in London that August next year we'll all just... I don't think it'll be a village, we'll be staying in hotels, and we'll do the major championship in August. And we stay in Europe till about September doing races and then come home. October is your time with family and friends and you can relax a little bit. You're still running every day, but it's very relaxed. Then November, altitude again. December, you know, a bit of time in Melbourne. Maybe you'll get a Christmas and then it all happens again. Yeah, we follow that schedule every year.
Wow.
We jump a lot.
Routine.
Yeah.
And Jen, just going back, we're going to come back to your current state of play for your running career, but where did it all start for you? Did you ever have a moment where you're like, you know what, I've actually got some real talent as a runner? Can you remember that? Yeah, it's strange because I don't remember the distinct moment where I thought, okay, this is what I want to do, you know, as a profession. But I have 3 brothers, so I was super active growing up. We were doing every sport under the sun. My parents were sport enthusiasts. They made sure that we had every opportunity to be as good as we could. So I grew up on Tamborine Mountain and went to Tamborine Mountain State School, so I was very close to the Gold Coast always. And then I kind of did a cross-country race one time and I probably was the only one that ran. Everyone else walked and I won, and my mum was like, oh, you're an athlete, you're a distance runner. And so we ended up moving to Logan to be closer to my mum's parents, and went to John Paul College. And again, cross-country was a compulsory event once a year. So I think I won that again. Look, no kids run at that age. So again, I'm just one that's jogging to the end. But it made me think, hey, this is something I'm really good at and I love it. And I was very lucky at John Paul College because it was such a good atmosphere. Again, that team sort of environment where there were a few good runners around, a few girls, a few guys. And my coach, he was great. He never overtrained me. You know, my dad was always like, oh, I think she can train harder. She seems, you know, a little too relaxed. We need to push her. We need another session a week. And he was like, no, she's good. She's a young girl. She doesn't need to do any more than this. And we were just very safe with how I progressed as an athlete. And, you know, I went to states and nationals all through high school. But it wasn't until 2006 I was offered a full athletic scholarship to go to America and compete for the university. So in 2007, when I graduated, I accepted the scholarship against my will. My parents just knew the opportunity it was and promised me that it would work out for the best. And I was shipped off to America. I hated it. The first year, I reckon I cried myself to sleep and told my parents they were horrible people. And they said, look, you'll thank us one day. My dad said, who knows, you might be an Olympian one day and you'll look back to this moment. Wow. And I kept that email and I sent it to him when I made the Olympics in 2012, and I said, you were right, you always knew. And probably that moment onwards, I said I almost gave it all up when I thought that going to America was a bad idea. I kind of said, maybe this is not what I want to do. Maybe I don't want to be a runner. I want to be a normal kid. I want to be like my brothers. I want to go to university. I want to get a job and I want to live the normal life. And thankfully I did have pushy parents that knew that I did love running. I was just kind of a bit lost at 18. And gosh, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I'll do this for as long as I can. Wow, a couple of things that jump out with that there, Jen. One, mums always know.
Yeah,
You're a champion runner. Yeah. No, good on mums, they always know. And two, prophetic from your dad. You know, one day you'll be an Olympian. Do you think deep down when he wrote that, he knew that? Yeah,
my dad. If you talk to him, he knew from a young age. And it's weird, I think parents probably all think that. You know, I'm sure Ryan will say the same thing. His mum always knew he would be a very good athlete. But my dad, he had faith from a very, very young age that I was different. I think he also saw how underworked I was. I wasn't like all the girls that I was versing through high school that were beating me. They were training very hard. And he knew that I was always underdone and had more in the tank if I needed to. And so college and then now being a professional athlete, we've obviously upped the workload. You know, now it's my job. He just knew that there was so much untapped potential. and that's really special, I think, for a father.
Wow, and we've happened to jag you today where we sit doing the interview here on the Gold Coast because you are home in that October window, and last night, I believe, celebrating your father's 60th birthday.
Yeah, or 2 nights this Saturday night. I last night was recovery night, but Saturday night, yeah, we got everyone together because it's so rare you get together with your family, and especially because I'm away so much. His birthday's actually not for another month, but I demanded a party a month early because I'll be at altitude in a month's time. Yeah. But it was a really, really great night, and I did a speech because I thanked him, for being such a good father, giving me every opportunity in the world to be the best athlete. Maybe if I didn't have the parents I had, they wouldn't have realised that I could be the athlete that I am today, and you got to thank them for making me go to college as well. I thought they were horrible people.
Well, as a dad of 2 girls, I can only imagine, and I think I've seen a photo of yourself and your dad at some time on social media, and I thought, wow, imagine the pride of that father.
Yeah.
So imagine there wouldn't have been a dry eye in the house last night.
Nah, yeah, it was pretty special.
Or at the party, I should say. Jen, the other thing you just mentioned through that was the fact that you've almost purposely held back or underdone, I think you just used the phrase. It's interesting because a previous guest on the podcast, one of Australia's, greats, Benita Willis, Benita mentioned that she feels that that's such an area for Australian athletics development that we just need to keep the lid on some of the juniors' workload.
Yeah.
Have you seen talent around you not go on to progress as a result of, being cooked too soon?
Yeah, it's so common because, especially in Queensland, because of our great climate and everyone's outdoors, we have so many great juniors, so much potential. Growing up, I definitely wasn't the best. I was always good and around there, but girls would flog me. Making teams, I was always overlooked.
As in you're talking about through school years?
Yeah, because there was so much talent. It was unbelievable. But the thing is, it's a shame that, people always think that when you're running well, more is better. And as I think for females is where the big issue is, because boys you can work them hard and they will keep getting better, and they'll probably, like Ryan, he's been good since he was a junior and he's getting better still. But girls, it's different. We go through a lot, between 15 and 20, and it is an area where, Benita can probably speak on behalf of a lot of girls. It's a shame because our juniors drop off. When they hit 18, we lose, I would say, 95% of them. And it's definitely something we need to work on because our female distance runners are not what they should be, not from when you compare where they are as juniors, because once over 25, it's almost like they don't exist. A lot of girls are trying to make comebacks because they had a period in their life where they gave it up, whether it was injury or they lost the love for it because the workload was too much. I was so lucky. I like I said, I didn't train much. My coach made sure that the environment was always fun, it wasn't stressful, and that we all loved it because he knew he would lose us if he pushed us too hard. And I think that's the key especially with females. It's very important. If you ask Eloise, gosh, she had that many injuries as a young girl because maybe she was confused with how, like I said, how much training you needed to do, how, light you needed to be, how much food you should eat or you shouldn't eat, that sort of stuff. And it becomes an issue in our sport where young girls don't know the limit and they end up, kind of going too far.
And, I think if we took sex out of the equation, that's just the nature of, elite sport and pushing that boundary, but let alone when we throw in, the relatively more delicate hormonal cycles of female athletes. And as a physiotherapist myself who works with a lot of, athletes and a lot of runners, bone health is such a, a big thing. And so, so I guess the summary would be, just be smart in those junior years and definitely have an accountability around a coach.
Yeah, because injuries can break people's dreams and make them just not want to do it anymore. I think that's why I look up to Eloise so much, because she is someone that you would assume would have walked away from the sport with how many upsets she's had, like big ones, missed out on several Olympics due to last minute injuries. Obviously now she's had a child and she's over 30 and a lot of people will probably doubt her, but she's still got her best years ahead of her because she learned all the mistakes she could possibly learn and she's not going to make them again.
And I love that. I mean, I love that just selfishly because I'm 35 and I'd like to think I got my best running ahead. And but I do think that's great. It's a mindset shift. I mean, we see Nick Willis,
exactly,
medaling again at the Olympic Games in Rio, and previous guest, I think episode 13 on the show, and his thing was he's still got the best ahead of him. And so I just think it's great for mindsets to shift as well around careers in sport.
Yeah, well, if you ask Ryan, he'll say the same thing. He doesn't see himself giving it up anytime soon. And I'm the same. I'll do this as long as I can. Obviously, women are different if they want to have a family, but Eloise is proving you can do both. And like I said, she had the best season of her career, I think, this year, and she's still layering down that foundation, and she's going to keep getting better. But people love to put a limit on sport, and people assume that 30 is getting on, but it's just not. People like Nick Willis, Ryan and I really look up to, because he has proved so many people wrong. He's proved sponsors wrong. He's proved federations wrong that like to point fingers and say that your peak years are mid-20s. We're proving that 30 is the new 20.
Come on, I like to hear that. And so, Jen, you mentioned injuries. Was there a point in your career thus far where you were like, you know what, this is a crossroads? I mean, you mentioned that initially you're a bit resistant to, going over to Florida for university, the track, the college scene over there. But was there a point where you really doubted your ability to actually get back into things?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was very lucky in the sense that my 4 years at college, I never had an injury that prevented me from training for more than a week. I may have had a week off once. So making the Olympics gave me the taste of it and made me realise that I didn't want to do anything else. This was the life that I wanted to live. And Ryan's the same. When you get a taste of what it is like when you're at the top, or when you've proved others wrong, it makes you get through those hard times. And in 2013, when I broke my ankle, at no point did I feel like that was the end. It was a serious injury. I was in a moon boot for 4 months. I had to learn to walk again and use my foot again. And that took a long time to get back. But again, I'd set a goal to make the Commonwealth Games a few months later. And although I rushed to make the Commonwealth Games and I qualified, I did cause another injury. And that's kind of when it started to get difficult. I just kept developing little niggles that would set me back another 6 weeks. And then I would build up, qualify for another championship, and then they would, tell me I had another injury, had another 6 weeks off. And when that starts to happen, that's when you question whether, it's worth it. It's kind of like, I travel all year round. I don't have a base. I haven't bought a house. I'm not married. I don't have kids. Like, do I keep doing this where I reset every year and I'm not, accomplishing what I wanted to do? I can see why a lot of people get out of the sport, because it's very taxing on your mind. And I think that's where Ryan and I's relationship has probably had its biggest benefit for both of us, because I know Ryan's had so many injuries. He's had 6 years of interrupted training where he wasn't reaching his potential, and he's a great person to talk to when you're struggling, because he doesn't let emotion come into it. Like, he can sit there and cry about it and dwell on an injury and say, I don't want to ride the bike for an hour, I don't want to get on the pool and do aqua jogging. He kind of just says, it's a phase that you got to do. It's your job. You tick it off. It'll be 6 weeks of hell, but after that, it's behind you and you'll be better for it. And I've learned that, if you do have to cross train, or there is a dark period in your season or career, it is a moment where you're going to have to really use all the mental power you have, but it'll be behind you in a matter of time, and you blank it out and you just keep going. It's part of the job.
Yeah. So, I mean, that ankle fracture, that was the most taxing injury you've had thus far. From listening to you speak, Jen, at no point though did you feel like you couldn't do it. It's just that you had to reconcile with the disappointment. And, as a physiotherapist day in, day out, I realise when people walk through the doors, it's actually not the pain of the ankle or the pain of the knee. It's the frustration of being sidelined. It's the fear of maybe not getting back to their best. And it's anxiety of, can I do it again? They're the things that people need the most help with.
And wondering if you'll ever be the athlete you were. And that's the hardest part, is dealing with the immediate kind of upset, regret, or whatever it is, and knowing that there is going to be a period where you're watching others get better and progress while you're feel like you're at a standstill. And I still remember in 2013, it was 6 weeks from Moscow World Champs. I'd qualified, I was ready to go. It was my first World Champs. And when I broke my ankle in a race, I had to immediately accept that I wasn't going to World Championships that year. I did have teammates that were going, so I couldn't also be bitter about it and, black it out from my mind. I did watch. It was horrible, but I didn't watch my event, but I watched all the others' events. We had Brett Robinson do really well, Zoe Buckman do really well, and I made sure I was there to support them and wish them luck or congratulate them, but it was a dark time for me.
Feeling like, you're just sidelined.
Yeah.
What happened in that race? The ankle fracture?
Yeah, it's crazy because probably before this year, I still would have said it was the best race I've ever had up until the point that I fell. It was a Diamond League in Birmingham. It was my first Diamond League, actually, and it was a steeplechase. And I had probably 2.5 laps to go, so maybe just under a K to go. It was just me and the Africans. We'd kind of run away from the rest of the field. I was on time to do a huge PB. I felt great, and I think I just lost focus for a millisecond as I approached the water jump, because I think I was even thinking, I was listening to the commentator, and I was thinking, wow, I'm up here with the best in the world. I'm here with the Africans. I'm going to do a really fast time. I knew the clock. I knew what times I was seeing and all the splits. Yeah, and I just had a lapse of judgment for a millisecond when I was on the water jump, and I've just come down on my right ankle very awkwardly, kind of almost, it was rolled. I just kind of fell on it, rolled, and it just, immediately, I knew it was bad. I knew it wasn't a sprain or anything because I just felt my whole foot crunch under me. And I've kind of got up thinking, I've looked at my ankle thinking it'd be turned back to front, and when it looked normal, I was like, oh, maybe I came off this okay, and the next step, it's like I was stepping onto nothing. My whole foot just collapsed. And I completely sheared almost in half my talus bone, which is a big dome in your foot. You shouldn't break it. So it was definitely a bad injury. And,
having that, this is your first Diamond League. You were how young in years at that stage, Jen?
I think I was 23.
Yep, 23. Yeah. You're overseas. Mm-hmm. What's it like at that point? You fractured not just your fibula or a tibia, it's actually a talus, which is a bit of a nasty fracture. Not having your immediate support, with your parents not there. I mean, as a young girl, how did you cope with that?
Oh, I didn't cope with it very well. I'd like to say I was tough and saw all the positives immediately, but I was pretty thrown off just because as soon as I went down, the first thing that popped in my mind was I'm not going to World Champs. I was taken off the track and my ankle immediately just blew up, and I actually had Sally Pearson's physio at the time kind of look after me because again, I didn't have any medical support over there at the time, and I was sent back to Belgium where my base was because I was actually still with a American sport agency group, and we would base in Belgium. And that's where I got all my scans and everything. And I still remember the doctor coming in and I was like, well, is it tendon? Is it ligaments? Like, am I going to be okay? Can I just I actually cross-trained before I got the results. There was a week where I had fallen to where I got the results, where I thought that I might be able to salvage some sort of season. And I was cross-training like crazy on a bike with a broken ankle. And at one point, the pain actually really subsided and I thought I'd be okay, and I tried to jog, and the thought of that now just makes me cringe because I'm an idiot. But I got the results and they said, look, it's a bad fracture, you're going to have to go home. But then they also said I wasn't allowed to fly for 3 weeks with a broken bone. So that's actually where me and Ryan began, because I said, what do? I'm in Europe. I don't have anyone. I can't fly home. So I just called Ryan and I was like, I know your group's in London. Do you mind if I come hang out? And he was like, yeah, sure. So we spent 12 days hanging out. I was probably drinking a lot. He was in full training. I was just kind of getting over my depression.
Yep.
And we started a great bond there. He was so helpful, and we pretty much dated from then on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So see, there's
always a silver lining.
Every down, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's incredible that you've shared at the start. And for listeners, this is Ryan Gregson, Australian Olympian, 1500 metre record holder, who will be actually on the episode after Genevieve. I just think, look at the support you've had beyond that, which potentially has pulled you to another level, as you shared.
Yeah. Well, the special thing about Ryan and I, and we say this to each other, is it's not like one of us jumped in when the other was having having the season of their life. Ryan and I met each other at rock bottom. Like I said, I used him to help me get through the broken ankle, but in 2013 he had chronic fatigue and had the worst season of his life. Like he just, every time he stepped out on the track, he was rock bottom, couldn't even get to that lactic stage. And as a 1500 metre runner, if you can't hit lactic, you're useless. In the last lap, you're going to go from first to last. And he really, really struggled, I think mentally, because physically he seemed fine. He wasn't injured. He wasn't, struggling at training. It's just every time you put him in a race, he didn't have that last gear that's normally his specialty. And so when he came home after 2013 season, I'm in a boot. He's also trying to recover all systems because he'd been absolutely cooked early on. And, his coach just said, look, have a month off. He came to Queensland to visit me. We just really relaxed. I think we went to Noosa and we did the celebrity try. We both were too unfit to do anything else. And we built each other back from there. 2014, again, we had okay years, not great. 2015, a step forward, I guess. But we said to each other 2 years ago, look, 2015 will be a building year, but I think 2016 will have a good one. Yeah. And we couldn't have been more right.
And I mean, at the Rio Olympics, your goals were for your meet to not be over before Ryan began his.
Yeah.
And by you finally in the 5,000 metres, it meant that happened, right?
Yeah. It was really
that would have been
cool.
pretty special.
It was really special because, like I said, you might not see it from the outside because I probably look like I'm really tough and unstoppable when it comes to distance running. But, I mean, on race morning, I would have turned to Ryan, a wreck, and said, just tell me something that'll make me feel better. Like, what am I supposed to do? What's the plan? And he just said, the aim is for your competition not to end before mine starts. And I was like, just those simple words, that one sentence, I was like, he's right. We're in this together. I'm going to keep going. His competition hasn't even started yet. Mine's not ending.
Yeah, wow. And what mantras do you... Jen, is there any mantras that you do have going through your heads when you're training those hard sessions? Anything that you routinely would tell yourself, self-talk?
Yeah, I think... I love running. I love long runs. I love distance runs. I love track sessions. I love thresholds. I really do enjoy what I do. At no point do I think, oh, I wish I didn't have to do this. Obviously, there are days that are much harder than others, and they're probably the ones where you're mentally talking to yourself. But all I do is live for the feeling after those hard sessions. So obviously, I know that the next hour and a half is going to be hell. But when I walk away from a session, whether I've, or even in my warm down, it's a different feeling. You feel on top of the world. And whether it even was just one session where our coach really decided to test us and we exceeded what he expected us to do, it makes you feel like you're unbreakable. And I get to feel that a few times a week sometimes, and that's why I love what I do. It's not just the competitions and not the PBs, it's not the finals I make that make me say, oh, this is why I love it. It's just the little day-to-day things I get to do that bring me so much joy, and I got Ryan to do it all with. And again, that's another special thing. Like, I don't go to an office from 9 to 5 and lock myself away and then have to wait to see Ryan, at the end of the day. We do everything together. We train together. If we have to, we'll cross-train together. Whatever it is, we really enjoy what we do. I think where I'm giving myself the most self-talk is gym sessions.
Tell us about that.
We're big on our gym sessions because we know how important they are with injury.
Yep.
But our gym isn't just go in, do a few exercises, walk out. Like, we do solid 2-hour sessions 2 to 3 times a week. And we put them on our hard days so that our hard days are hard and our easy days are really easy. So Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays for us are really, really intense. And we walk into the gym together. The amount of times I've looked at him and said, how am I getting through these next few hours? Like, tell me that. You put yourself in beast mode, you go on autopilot, and you just get the job done and know that you're better for it when you walk out. So,
is there one session, Jen, in particular that stands out as just an absolute,
in gym or running?
Gym first.
Yeah, gym. No, it's all just tough. It's heavy lifting, but it's not that it hurts or it's painful. It's not even, you're not even using your aerobic system. It's all anaerobic, or explosive sort of stuff. It's more just the length of it, all the exercises, all the little activation things we have to do. A lot of it's rehab. It's more just getting it done, going into the gym, working hard, getting out. But when it comes to sessions throughout the week, Saturday mornings are with no question whatsoever the hardest session we have.
This
all
is
year
running
round.
now?
Yeah.
Yep. So
all year
tell
round.
us about that. What's a Saturday morning
Saturdays
look
are
like?
hills, and whatever Nick has up his sleeve is hell. When we're at altitude, it's always 6 by 800 metre reps. So it is just a steep... The one we do at Falls Creek and the one we do at Mount Laguna, they're just the toughest session you could possibly imagine. 800 metres of just vertical steepness. Wow. And, you got to run up it. It's almost as hard as you can go, but also with in mind that you have 6 of them and you can't pop before the 6th. And it's just, a jog back, not dawdle. It's a solid jog back and you do 6 of them. And it is a very, very tough day. And you know it.
A few breakfasts coming up on this session.
Seriously, we've had people get delirious at the top, like don't know where they are because they've hit like a wall of just complete breakdown. But I honestly, Friday night, I have a restless night's sleep.
Wow.
Just because it's like tomorrow's the hill session. And it's weird because it's not like the boys got it worse. They have such a big group all year round. There's so many great guys we have in our group. And you know what guys are like, it's very competitive. You want to be at the front. Whereas with me, there's only a few of us girls, so it's not like I'm worried about anyone else. It's just it's that hard. It doesn't matter whether you go easy or you go super hard. It's just a difficult climb.
So what are you telling yourself on the first rep? Let's just do it. Let's get it done.
It's like the first 3 shouldn't be that hard. You're fresh. It's just Ryan broke it down for me. He said the first 3 you're ticking them over. You're not exerting yourself too much. You're just getting it done. Obviously it's tough, but you're fresh. Yeah. It's the last 3. That's when you really got to focus. And then by then you can kind of say, all right, I'm past halfway. I'm nearly there. But again, the Saturday sessions, they do not get easier ever. I've been doing them for a few years now, and I still get just as nervous and just as relieved when it's over. But it's our bread and butter. I reckon it's why we're as good as we are. Wow. It's so much strength and power. Yep. It's being able to recruit different muscle fibres at the end of a session when you're exhausted, and I think that's really, really important with what we do.
Yeah, wow. Now, Jen, going to shift gears a little, give you a lightning round of performance questions. You ready? So there's eight questions or thereabouts with answers off the top of your head. Training session most disliked. I think you just answered
I just answered that.
Training session most loved.
Long runs. I love long runs. Even wherever we are, they're usually hilly, very hilly, but it's 90 minutes or 80 minutes usually for me, 90 for the boys, where you can just switch off, relax, get away from whatever's been going on that week, or chat. Do whatever. It's 90 minutes of pure bliss, I think, and they're so important. You have to have your long run to be an aerobic athlete, and so I know how important they are and how much I love them. So
long runs.
Yeah.
Favorite pre-race meal, Jen?
Pre-race meal. I usually try to stick to really simple foods, and it's something along the lines of banana, bread and honey.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I try, I did that at every Diamond League. Even if I was racing 9 o'clock at night, 5 hours out, I'm eating a lot of bread and banana.
5 hours out. Did you do that for Rio?
Yep.
Bananas?
I did. I had to wake up super early because I had morning races. I was waking up at Sparrows and having bananas and toast and coffee and honey. So that's what I do it all year round.
Cool. Bedtime?
What I have at bedtime.
What's your normal bedtime?
Oh,
you're pretty
if I didn't date Ryan, because I'm a Queenslander, it would be 8 o'clock at night. But he is an absolute procrastinator. Doesn't like to go to bed, and even when we're in bed, he wants to sit on his phone for a few hours. So I'd say anywhere between 10 and 11, I would like to be asleep.
Okay, cool. Morning time, normally up?
Again, if I didn't date Ryan, it would be really, really early. But again, because we're going to bed so late, we like to, no matter what, get 8 hours. 8 hours is the benchmark. Cool. So because we train at 9:30 every single morning, no matter where we are in the world, as long as we're up before 8.
It's 9:30.
Yeah, 9:30, no matter where we are.
Game on.
Long runs are 9.
Wow, that's really cool. That's incredible. And smart athlete, 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Who's the athlete you most admire and why?
Eloise Wellings.
Cool.
100%. She's just been a role model since I can remember being an athlete, and I've learnt so much from her. I'm lucky enough that I actually get to train with her, so I get to even see the inside part of her life, and it's just as special and inspiring as what everyone else sees on the outside. She is a very, very special person, and she's got a great family too. Her husband, Johnny, he's awesome. Their little girl, Indy, I love her to death. She's just... I hope that I'm still going when I'm her age and running just as well.
Wow. Toughest competitive ever raced against, Jen?
Toughest competitor, Australian or internationally?
You choose.
I'd just probably say a girl that I admire and I put on a pedestal in my event, and it's an American Emma Coburn. She's got a bronze medal this year. I know her very well because we went to college together and I race her all year round. She's with New Balance, so I see her a lot there. She's just, she's tough because I think there's a lot of expectations on her. She's definitely the best white steeplechaser in the world, has been for a few years now. I raced her in London Olympics, raced her in Rio, and there hasn't been a period where she didn't perform or didn't live up to expectation. She also has had setbacks. A lot of athletes, you kind of think, wow, they really haven't missed a beat. But she had 2013, actually, the exact same time I broke my ankle. She got a stress fracture in her back. I remember she messaged me and she said, do you want to come to Hawaii so we don't have to watch World Champs? She's just very inspiring because even though, at the end of this year, she finished with 2 American records, a bronze medal at the Olympics, but if you really hear the inside story, she had upsets, she had setbacks, she had times during 2016 where she didn't think she'd accomplish what she did, and that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear the rosy period of how easy it was or how much they've accomplished and it was all came so easy. She shows that she has adversity as well, and even when you're the best, there are periods where you can kind of really question what you're doing and whether it's worth it.
And I love that earlier in the interview you shared that, you were listing out the sacrifices, you were reconciling in your head. It's the steady job or the family, it's the costs, right? Is there a mantra that you use when you're racing? Like I know we spoke about training, but was there something that was going through your head in the 2 Olympic finals this year in 2016?
It was my biggest thing is trying to make sure that I'm relaxed. I think that I am a high-strung person, or I think most distance runners are, and the mind is the most powerful thing when it comes to Olympic finals because not everyone can perform on that day. So many variables come into play, and if you can manage to stay relaxed and save as much energy as possible, at least you have that on your side. I know that there were so many girls in my final that were predicted to do better. On paper, they should have done better. But again, it's the Olympic final and not everyone's going to have their best day. So I just tried to stay in control of what I could manage. And that was staying relaxed, focusing, whether it was breathing, breaking it down to simple things like for the 5K, it was, Eloise, you train with Eloise, you know that you can stay close to her and she's going to do well. So it was kind of tricking my mind to believe it was just like a training session. With the steeple, I went in very aggressive. I had so much confidence in the steeples. So in the middle of the race, rather than doing what I would normally do and kind of staying back and just kind of seeing what would happen and how it unfolds, I went for it. I thought, there's some girls going backwards here. Not everyone's having a good day. I'm having a good day. And I really went for it in the middle K. I don't regret it. But in the last 200, you can see that all that extra energy I'd used wasn't there anymore. But hey, it was because of that, 10 days later, I went and got the Australian record because I'd absolutely tested my limit and it made me a better athlete. And my coach told me, he said, you were brave and that'll pay off one day. It might not have paid off today, but it'll pay off in the future, and it did. Wow,
that's powerful. What's one bit of training advice, Jen, as we bring this into a close, you'd give people looking to perform at their best? One mantra from Jen.
Again, it's this relaxing thing that I've only done it this past year. It's 2016. And again, I got it off Ryan, who got it off a sports psych that kind of taught him how to not overthink it, because so much preparation goes into these big events. You think of all the hours you've put in, all the gym sessions, the years of training. A lot of people can get to the final stage, whether it's a race or the biggest competition at the time or of the year, and they'll panic. They'll think, what if it doesn't go to plan? What if my Achilles hurts? What if some other girl goes out much harder than me and I feel like I have to keep up? It's staying relaxed and using that positive energy to help you, not waste it on nerves. And this year I've tried to go into every race tricking my mind, relaxing, focusing on things that are completely like irrelevant to running, and it's made me so much of a better athlete. I sit in the call room and I just kind of laugh and talk to people. Like I said, Emma, who I really look up to, at the Olympic final in the call room, we just chatted to each other about things that probably were so unrunning related.
Wow.
Because we know what we've got to do. When we step on that line, we know exactly what we have to do. We've done it since the minute we decided we were going to go to the Olympics. We don't need to sit in the call room and go over race plan a million times in your mind, because by the time you take it out onto the track, you've already run the race 10 times in your head. You're exhausted. And so the best advice I can give is don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. Know what the plan is before it comes around, but then just relax and stay focused.
I think that's such an insight. It's interesting you say that. I mean, on a medical level, I've observed orthopedic surgeons and they're doing delicate surgeries, and yet they're playing music and chatting. They're not even they're focused, obviously, but it's just because, as you say, they've executed it, they know what they're doing. And it brought me back to what Craig Mottram shared, was going through his head on one of the Olympic finals. As he looked left, and he's got Kenzanee Bakila, and he's got all the greats around him in this final, and he's like, I said, what was going through your mind, Craig? And he said, I forgot to brush my teeth.
Yeah.
So I think that's such an insight. Stay relaxed, and wow, thank you for sharing that.
No,
Jen, I'd love you to issue listeners of the show a physical performance challenge for the week. It can be anything. It can be really difficult, or it can be easy.
A challenge to set for others. A
challenge that Jen LaCaze is going to set for anyone listening to this show for the next week. And what we're going to do, listeners, if you take up the challenge, let us know on social media. We'll share Jen's handles in the show notes and also in a moment. So what's it going to be?
So does it have to be really tough?
You get to choose it. You can go hard on us or easy on us. Jen, what's it going to be?
Oh, gosh. I'm trying to think of something I've had to do that I struggle with. I don't know. Maybe something... I have no upper body strength, so I'm going to make the physical challenge something upper body strength. I'm that hopeless. And maybe I'll even try to do it this week.
Come on, all right, we're all in.
Okay, what do you reckon? It's going to be chin-ups.
Come on.
20 chin-ups all the way down.
In one set?
Yeah, one set.
All right, so if you can take... I'm going to try this one too.
I'm going to walk away from the gym this day, whenever it is, and regret everything. But... for a while in 2012 I got really good at chin-ups and I was really impressed with myself, and then I think maybe when I got injured I just didn't do it again, but I reckon I could, maybe not all the way down, maybe like a minor bend in the elbow.
All right, so if you're listening, you got 20. If you can crack out 20 continuous this week, let us know.
Yeah, I need to see video footage though.
Okay, it's got to be videoed on social media. It's lucky I've just installed, funny because I'm off injured to this rest of the year with a rain injury.
You can do
I've
this
installed
challenge.
A chin-up bar at home, so I might try and take it out myself.
Yeah, I'll try do it too. I'll try to see if Ryan can do it. I know he hasn't got much upper body strength either.
We'll hit him up after. Jen, where can people find out more about your journey going forwards? What are your social media handles?
Yes, so I have... Instagram's my favourite. I'm probably uploading too much on Instagram, and that's Gen, so GENGEN _LaCaze, my last name. I obviously have Twitter and Facebook. I have a fan page on Facebook that I update, but Instagram's definitely the insight to my life day to day, because I don't just post about running. I also show a little bit more of my social life and family and friends and all that sort of stuff, which I think is interesting because it's not all about running. But I definitely keep it all, updated often with where I am in the world, because lucky for me, I do travel a lot, so I like to document it all.
That's cool. And what's on the bucket list, Jen? In life, outside of running?
5 kids.
5, one for every 1,000 meters. Hey?
Seriously, that's like my dream. But I think I'm going to face reality at some point and know that if I want to keep being a runner, 5 kids is never going to happen. But
why 5 out of interest?
There's 4 in my family. I have 3 brothers and I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. Maybe I'd have 1 more. I begged for a sister all my life, but that never happened. But I love family. I'm very big on it. And I love a big family. I just think a big family is a happy family. So At some point, I love kids. Eloise brought Indy around a lot this year with all our training camps, and it's a better atmosphere with young kids around, and it's something. I thought my mum was a super mum growing up. My dad was so great with us. I'd like to, at the end of my running career, have that as well. That'll sum up a very good life for me.
What a way to end, Jen. So we wish you, listeners, myself, all the best for, what will be the new year, 2017, and then the Commonwealth Games here on the Gold Coast, 2018, and then obviously
exciting.
on to Tokyo. And congratulations on the season you've had, and thanks for sharing so openly around aspects of your physical performance today, and I think you're a champion.
No, thanks so much for having me, Brad. It was been awesome.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
So, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Physical Performance Show featuring Genevieve LaCaze. What an insightful interview. I found that really interesting and a lot of fun to bring to you. I hope you got a lot out of it as well. If you did get something from it that you're just excited about, feel free to shoot it across on social media, Twitter @Brad_beer. I'm also over on Instagram @Brad_beer. Take on Jen's physical challenge for the week. I have recently put that chin-up bar outside this room where I'm recording this, and I'm going to attempt to have the 20 knocked out this week continuous. It's a fair challenge. She set the bar pretty high, but if you take it on, let us know on social media, Jen and myself. That'd be great. And if you enjoyed it, please let Jen know as well. Jen's handles will link in the show notes over at pogophysio.com.au. She's pretty easy to find with a big social media following. Guys, coming up in episode 31 of the Physical Performance Show, we catch up with Jen's other half. As you heard through the interview, Jen refers regularly to Ryan Gregson. Ryan is an Australian athlete on the rise. The thing I really admire about Ryan is he's pushed through some really difficult years with multiple injuries, which he talks about in next week's episode. And he speaks about how he overcame those and the lessons that he's learnt, which he shares with us as to how he navigated that to find his best performance. This year in Rio, Ryan went on to run in the Olympic Games 1500 metres final, becoming the first Australian in 40 years to represent Australia in a final for the 1500 metres. So this is a remarkable athlete. They're a remarkable couple, and you're going to enjoy that episode, particularly the little bit about Jen's story and Ryan's story of how they met each other. There's a little bit of a difference there, but it's great. It's worth a laugh and a listen. So, guys, have a great week. Until next episode of the Physical Performance Show, keep performing at your physical best. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show. See you guys.